how to answer a question to a teenager who is angry with Allah. My daughter lost 3 high school friends, 1 to suicide, 2 to an accident in 1 year. It's a big one.
Yeah. Yeah. Loss is almost always difficult, almost always difficult. And separation right along with it. And Bismillah, I want to start with anger. One of our great sages, Sheikh Ahmadou Bamba from Senegal, God have mercy on his soul. He writes that the root of anger is in our discontent, our dissatisfaction with the present moment. Does that ring true for anyone? Does that land? And so when things happen, like the death of a friend, the death of a loved one, losing a job, or what we've been witnessing for the past 7 months in Palestine, and things don't turn out the way we expect, one of our natural, normal responses as human beings is to be angry. Whether it's someone who cut in front of you on the freeway, right? Or it's something a lot more grave, and there's a murder or there's theft. When things are not the way we want them to be or expect them to be, anger is a very natural and a very normal response that we have to become comfortable with. I think as human beings, anger is one way of grieving. And when you're talking to teenagers, it's important for you to understand this. Tasneem mentioned this when we were in the breakout rooms of, listening to people, listening with your heart, not just your ears, because when you're listening with your heart, you can hear what they're not saying, the subtext, right? The subtext. So, a lot of times people may say, they're angry with God, or, but there's really something else under that. And so I really invite you and me to, when we're talking with young people, with teenagers, to listen, between the pauses, like really what's going on, ask questions. And so, since anger, at least in part, has to do with discontent, its remedy has to do with contentment. And being content with how you're experiencing reality, how God is responding to you. And that takes knowing something about God himself and going beyond. I almost feel like, in my own journey, when I have those moments where I experience frustration, anger, there's questioning, it's an invitation to a deeper relationship. It's an opportunity to go deeper. Right. And so again, as Muslims, I know this is something we don't talk about. Anger with God? No, not me. No, we don't do that. No. I believe in qadr. I believe in God's preordainment, predestination, and but I mean, really, a lot of times the way we deal with each other, with other people, shows that there's some discontent, dissatisfaction with God's will. So listening, being empathetic is really important, and not condemning their anger, not condemning their emotions, but really, making space for them and helping to ask questions that help get to the root of really what's going on, which I think, and I don't know your daughter. I forget if it was your daughter or son who lost 3 friends, but anger, like grief, is another word for love. And so, yes, you wish that this horrible thing did not happen to them, whether the death was natural, or whether it was unexpected, it was a crime. It's getting to realizing, what, I love this person so much, but I have no control over how long they're here. And that God has, and trusting, trusting that God has a plan for you and for them, and leaning into gratitude. Right? Those are some of the ways that people, that I personally managed those feelings when someone is snatched out of your life.